Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Our monthly town hall is now in effect. Waiting for you guys to come in. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome to today's town hall. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's town hall. One second. Hello. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So let's just get right to it. You know, every month we have a town hall that I've been doing since the beginning of the year. And we get together and you guys can ask me anything. We address different issues that are going on in the local, dealing with grievance and discipline, any contractual questions that you have, anything dealing with COVID-19, whatever it is, I'm here for you to ask questions and everything else. As you know, as you see, we now have campaign gear. We have hats that are $40, Evangeline buyers for president. We have t-shirts, we have hoodies. If you want to order, you can just Cash App. I'll put the Cash App in so you guys can know what it is. You can Cash App, Vote Local 100. Make sure to put your number, your size, and what it is that you want to order, and Vote Local 100. Let me just put that. You can do Cash App for now. Soon we'll have a place for you to basically order your campaign gear. Okay, yes, so of course today was the Saturday Action Rally. We were at Sugar Hill today. We'll be there every Saturday preparing for to take over this local. We were there today discussing the issues regarding around dues. You have to make sure that your dues are paid if you are planning to run in this election. You have to make sure that your dues are paid. You have to make sure that your address is up to date in order for you to be able to run in this election. We are also preparing for the different challenges that are going to be ahead due to the fact that many people are in bad standing, not because it's something that you've done. You're in bad standing because you may have had an injury on duty. You may have been assaulted. And as a result, you went out IOD. There was a disruption in your dues payment. As a result, you have fallen behind. However, the union's job is to notify you to let you know that you are on the verge of going into bad standing once you miss one payment. The union does not do that. Because they know that the members do not understand this, they're not enforcing it. However, remember, in order for us to win this election, you guys have to be prepared and do your due diligence. So one of the things you have to do on the website, on TW Local 100 website now, they have a link that says dues. If you click on there, you're supposed to be able to electronically handle your dues payments and things online. However, that link from when I tried to use it earlier to see if it was working is not working. It's not even giving you an error message. It's just not going through. So you have to use the old antiquated system of going down to 195 Montague Street to pay your back dues and also make sure your address is up to date. So some of the issue could be not only that the union is just not sending you a ballot, but a lot of us may be in bad standing, and that's why you're not receiving a ballot. So you have to pay off your back dues in order to be able to be found in good standing to be able to forge ahead. So I want you guys to ask me questions. I'm going to continue to talk, but remember, this is a question and answer session. I need you guys to ask me questions about, why I'm running. What is it that you expect from me? Ask me questions about the contract. Ask me questions about whatever it is that comes to your mind, things that's going on in your depot, grievance and discipline, how you can become a part of the campaign. Whatever it is that's on your heart and mind, that's what this session is for. So I'm here for you. Ask me anything you want. Okay, so another thing, remember in MOW right now, we're dealing with the track 7 and now the track 14 who are up for dismissal and have been, they're dealing with grievance and discipline right now. I want you to understand, make sure when you're getting in trouble that you're letting people know, right? The more eyes that are watching, the more we're making noise, the more it makes your union reps have to work, right? Chiarillo doesn't want to respond and show up for hearings and represent members, but because we're talking about it, right, it makes them have to do something. If nobody's watching, if nobody knows what's going on with you, you can be knocked off. However, if you're bringing your issues, your grievances and everything to the forefront, we're stronger together, right? We see that the more we work together, the more we bring these issues to light, the more that our members are protected. So, the person that I am running against, Paulie Navarro, he did a town hall earlier today. I've been being, hit up about some of the things that he talked about as far as women issues are concerned, right? As long as these people have been in the union, they have done nothing in regards to women's issues. Currently, they are doing nothing in regards to women's issues. So for the women who are under the sound of my voice, I am your only hope, okay? We have seen throughout, Jillian Williams lost her baby on the train tracks. Where was Paulie Navarro, right? Where was his representation during that time? Where has he been on any issues in regard to safety? Quiet, missing in action, nobody to hear from him, right? So I find it very troubling when I hear people advocating or saying that they are for women's issues and they're going to do all of these things. And when women are out fighting, they're not there. No one has assisted us in that regard from Local 100 to work along with us. The only person that responded to us in the early days of what happened to Jillian Williams when she lost her baby on the train tracks was Latanya Chris. She showed up and took the meeting with us. Nobody else from Local 100 took a meeting with us. Tony Itano only took a meeting with us when it was Miss Williams being at the table, and unbeknownst to them, she brought me into her meeting to be there as a witness and to advocate on her behalf. So you have to understand that when it comes to women's issues, right, there is no one currently in office or outside of office other than myself that is actively still fighting for women's issues. Currently, we're still in court when it comes to reasonable accommodation for pregnant women. We have to go another way in regards to dealing with that case because the judge doesn't want to hear everybody's case all together. She wants to hear it separate, right? And so in order for us to win, you have to stay with things even when it's not popular. So you haven't heard me talking about what's happening in regards to the women's case because we're still working on it. We're still strategizing on how to deal with this situation because this issue in regards to reasonable accommodation for pregnant women is a human rights issue as well, right? So there's a whole lot going on with that, but there has been nobody supporting us outside of the membership, Ritu Singala, and other women who are from the local who showed up on the day of and have continued to stay with it. Just talking about issues and not lending your resources and your help to it, absolutely means nothing. So I just want you guys to understand that. I want you guys to understand there's an issue. I talked the other day about us being designated as first responders. And two people on the live when I was talking about it, they didn't agree. This is why we need to look into this issue of being first responders, right? We're first responders anyway, without the designation. We're responding to medical emergencies, fires, every type of emergency there is, we're responding. During Goebel's celebration, Jamar talked about it, right? The reason why we didn't get hazard pay, the reason why we were blocked out of a lot of the federal funding during COVID-19 is because we are not designated first responders. Now, with first responder designation comes a lot of responsibility. I do understand that. However, we're doing it anyway. We're responding anyway. If there's a fire on your train, while you're calling it into RCC, you are the person that has been designated that has to get the people out of the train. You're responding to that emergency. You're the first person on the scene. If someone is shot, stabbed, assaulted, if you're shot, stabbed, assaulted, or spit on, you're the first person responding to these incidents. If you're the first person responding to these incidents, you are a first responder, right? And as a result, we need to be compensated as such. We need hazard pay, all the protections that come with that designation. We need that, and we are entitled to it, and it is due us, and I am in agreement with Jamar on this issue. We can further explore it and talk about it, but I really believe that is something that we should look into. If someone gets hurt on the job and is getting workers' compensation, why does transit cut the health insurance when the individual needs it more than ever? They do, well, Tessa, the real answer is that transit doesn't care about us. That's why they do it. They know that we need health coverage, and it's also a way to force you back to work, right? If they cut your health coverage, and we know all of the issues around injury on duty, right? So if they're cutting your health coverage and things of that nature, they know that most likely a lot of people will come back to work. You will withdraw your injury on duty, and then they don't have to deal with that. So that's the short answer of why they do that. However, on the union side, the handling of injury on duty and workers' compensation is atrocious. The fact that we are in 2021, everything can be submitted online. The fact that we're still walking paperwork in and handing it in the dinosaur way, and it's taken all of this time, at least 3 months before you can even receive a check, is a problem. Oh, thank you, Mr. Soros. Yes, we definitely need to fight for hazard pay. If you guys understand, we were not giving any compensation as far as hazard pay and protection under Joe Biden's COVID relief plan, right? The MTA was not written in there in that plan at all. However, they did give the aid to the MTA. However, hazard pay and all of the other things that other first responders and other people receive, we did not receive, right? And this is why we need to be given first responder status, so that look what just happened to us during the pandemic, right? We were deemed essential workers. However, we're doing a job that is above essential worker status, if you look at it. Throughout this pandemic, we have still been responding to medical emergencies. Somebody's sick on your train, you have to make sure that they're okay. You have to call it into RCC. You have to handle it. If you're on your bus, dealing with emotionally disturbed persons, everything that comes with responding to disasters, we are on the front line. So that's something that we definitely have to continue to look into. I need you guys to ask me some more questions. I don't want to just keep talking, but I want you guys to be a part of the discussion as well. So please ask questions. Anything that you heard earlier on the MTA reclassified us to prevent us from getting our child care benefits under state prison. They reclassify well, no, I'm in agreement. I know that they did that, Mr. Kemp, as essential workers. So Mr. Kemp just put on here, the MTA reclassified us to prevent us from getting our child care benefits under the state's provision. Not only our child care benefits, but also to prevent us from getting hazard pay and all of the other provisions that came under federal funding due to COVID-19. The funds are for payroll operations. Hazard pay is a form of payroll. Keep your members on fire. We are designated as a... Okay. So what is it that you're trying to say, Mr. Kemp? You can elaborate a little bit so I can express what you're trying to communicate to the people watching. Okay, so basically, again, I'll get you your T-shirt, Mr. Jenkins. You can look. I put the Cash App in the comments so that you can Cash App. The sweatshirt is $40. You can Cash App Vote Local 100 $ Vote Local 100, and it's $40. And just put your telephone number, and I'll call you and get it to you. And your size, your phone number, and what it is you want. Jamel Nicholas asked me, can you speak to how you will bridge the gap between departments? So I'm already doing it. How I will bridge the gap between departments. Currently, when it comes to my campaign and how I'm running it, all of the candidates who are running have to know one another. All the VPs have to know one another. They all have to talk. You guys go out with me to different departments and campaign. Everybody has to talk to one another. We are familiarizing ourselves with all parts of the contract. Everybody that's running, nobody will, I do not allow people to say that I'm from buses, all I care about is buses, or I'm from RTO, all I care about is RTO. No, we are one family, we are one local, we are all together. So how I'm bringing us together is currently how you guys are doing it right now. As we have campaign rallies and meetings, we go into departments. We're in everybody's business. If you are brought up on grievance and discipline, it doesn't matter if you're in stations, if you're in MOW, wherever you find yourself, we familiarize ourselves with what's going on with everybody, and we stand together. Currently, we have lawsuits on behalf of bus drivers, train operators, bus maintainers, right? Everybody who needs representation and needs support throughout the local, wherever you are, we respond to that because we're one family. An injury to one is truly an injury to all. If we are not moving as one organized front, we'll be easily dismantled and knocked off. And that is what we are currently experiencing right now. So how I'm going to bring us together is exactly how we're doing it right now. Working together with one another, learning each other's contract and department, having fellowship and breaking bread with one another, coming out to each other's meetings, group chatting. Our group chats are very much across departments. We have bus operators, train operators, MOW. More than anything, I need you guys to get involved. If you cannot attend the Saturday action rallies, I'm going to see if I could do at least one a month during a weekday, so that you guys can attend who work on weekends. Most likely, usually Wednesdays are days where union meetings are. I'll try to do it on a day when the union meetings are not, so that people who are not able to come out on the weekends can come out during the weekday, and you too can be a part of all of the things that we're doing to get the campaign together. So that's how I plan on bringing us together. Also, someone texted me about Mr. Navarro talking about the contract and how when it comes to how the contract functions and the way things are allocated, that you can't get sevens across the table when it comes to wages because, now I didn't hear this is what somebody told me. So I'm going off of hearsay because I didn't hear this. I'm here with you guys doing this now. But I just want to let you know that when it comes to the contract, right, And when it comes to dealing with our health care and everything else, that is not true, right? The president of the union negotiates, the top four negotiates. They are responsible for the overall negotiations of the contract. Each department negotiates their own section of the contract, right? And so you can have what you negotiate. You can get what you negotiate, right? And so don't let people tell you what you cannot get. When the time comes and we go into contract negotiations, we put out what it is that we want. We put the ask out first, right? We make our ask, we make our demands, we make what we want known, and then we take it from there. You cannot say what you cannot get until you have actually asked for it and collectively bargained for it. So again, you have to have people at the table who are prepared to fight, right? Who understand what's going on, who's not looking to tell you what you cannot get, but preparing for whatever that fight is. And collectively together, we have to come together to make those decisions. Talking about that now of what you can't get and telling you how this is supposed to happen is not true. His camp is also the one that told you that they're going to give you contract negotiators, which will take away the voice of the membership to collectively bargain on our own behalf. We do not want contract negotiators, right? We already see what happens anytime we are not at the table actively fighting for ourselves. We're railroaded. So why would we want to give up our right to decide on our contract? So that's something that cannot occur, will not occur, and that's something the membership will not allow to happen. So don't worry about that. We are going to continue to forge ahead. We're going to continue to work together and get ahead of these issues. If you see, just to touch on what happened in RTO, as you see, the F-line pick was halted. Sarah Feinberg said her and Tony Itano came to an agreement, which I'm sure they did after the city council made it very clear that to shut down service would be a health hazard, right? To limit service in the midst of a pandemic while the city is opening back up and everything is returning, is making strides to return to normal, that would be detrimental to the health, safety, and well-being of the riding public. So that's why it stopped. Because, again, when our elected officials step in on our behalf, when the riding public says something, then the MTA has to fall in line. Also, if you have been paying attention, during the last hearing they had, the arbitrator postponed the hearing to basically do his due diligence about it, and also because the riding public was not alerted that there was going to be that they were gonna eliminate, that there were gonna be drastic service changes, right? And so all of these things had to be halted to be taken care of. As a result, you see them walk it back. So this is why we constantly tell you that Eric Logel is incapable of leading RTO, the RTO department, because he does not understand how these things happen. Everything that he does is reactionary, right? And so even the challenge of them filing a lawsuit happened because while we were on the executive board, at the executive board meeting, John Ferretti challenged them during the executive board meeting to do for the same thing that they did in stations department for them to do in RTO. And as a result, Tony Itano said that they would look into it. Eric Logel said he thinks something was happening around that issue or whatever, and that's how that was taken care of. So I want you guys to understand that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that happens when these things are resolved. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes to make sure that these things get resolved. And as far as the members and what we want is at the forefront. It's a very, very hard fight, but we're up for it. Again, it was John Ferretti who brought it to the executive board. He raised the question and put it out there that they needed to legally challenge the MTA on the F-line pick and service cuts. So that's how that was taken care of and resolved. And also what led to them ultimately having to back off was because the the city legislature got involved and said that if they eliminated service, that this would be detrimental to the health, safety, and well-being of the riding public. Legally, they couldn't do it because they had to have public hearings, which they did not do. Therefore, that was another reason why it could not happen. Had nothing to do with Sarah Feinberg and Tony Atano coming to some kumbaya moment and making it stop, right? Again, the elected officials, members, John Ferretti being on the executive board and raising the question, that's how that got handled. During the e-board meeting in March, they adjourned it when I went to ask questions. So I guess that's what's going to be going on now. Whenever it's time for me to bring anything before the executive board, they're going to start adjourning meetings, because that's what they did when I went to bring the rest of the issues that we have before the executive board. So anybody have any more questions? Any more questions? We have about 30 more minutes. Any questions? Any concerns? Any questions? Any concerns? Okay, so I'll follow up and talk about COVID. So as you guys know, COVID-19 is still on the rise. The numbers, they say, are going up as far as the hospitals are concerned. The numbers are starting to go up again. So we have to see how that's going to go and how is that affecting us in RTO. Oh, this is what I have to talk to you guys about. If you have not been paid your administrative leave due to COVID-19, please let me know. Across departments, a lot of people are telling me that they have not been paid due to COVID-19. If you have FMLA and if you have been placed on sick control and you have FMLA, that's also something for us to look into, because you should not be on sick control if you have FMLA. I have a question. Are you going to let the consolidation list come back when you're president? I have to look into that. I can't give you an answer right now. I would have to look at the consolidation list. All of the particulars surrounding that before I can give you an answer about the consolidation list. Okay. So, so make sure when it comes to FMLA, wait, can you still fill out ILD form? Yes, if you caught COVID last year and you have a positive test result, you can contact the attorney online. Inbox me. I'll send you the attorney's information. They'll process the C4 for you so that you can do your injury on duty and everything else. As long as you have your positive test result and you were working during that time and you contracted it while in the performance of your duties, yes, you can still file an injury on duty due to COVID. Any questions? Anybody? Any more questions? Keep them coming, because I'm here to answer questions. Ask the questions, because I'm here to answer questions and to help you guys with whatever I can while we're on for this hour. Any questions you may have? How should we be utilizing safety stand-downs? Okay, so how should we be using safety stand-downs? Okay, safety stand-downs should be being utilized a whole lot more than what they are now. Safety stand-downs happen when something occurs as far as a violation of safety, and the system needs to be brought to a halt so that the members can meet together to talk about what's happening in regards to safety. So an instance of when there should have been a safety stand down is when Mrs. Jillian Williams went into labor in the train yard and lost her baby, right? That's an instance of when there should have been a safety stand down. When there was the Valentine's Day massacre, when the the psycho was stabbing up people on the A-line and nobody knew, he wasn't caught and everything else, that's the instance of when there should have been a safety stand down. So whenever our safety is in jeopardy, rules are not being adhered to or violated, that's when there should be a safety stand down. And that basically brings out bulletins, talks to us about, the steps that we can take to keep ourselves safe. That's what happens in regard to safety stand down. During that time, I wasn't tested. I was forced 14-day quarantine. However, after returning from that, I was able to get the antibody test and came out positive for that. If you have the copy of your antibodies, that means you had COVID. All of that helps. Take that information, give that information to the attorney, and they will be able to help you. So yes, if you have antibodies and you've been at work, you're in the performance of, you tested positive while in the performance of your duties. So I want to go back and I want to talk about grievance and discipline. Grievance and discipline is one of the biggest issues, if not the biggest issues in our local, right? Because when you are, Ms. Perez, you're welcome. When you are brought up for discipline, if you don't know how that process is supposed to function, it can cost you your livelihood, right? You can lose your job. So it's very important that you guys understand grievance and discipline. If you go on my website, Evangeline-Byers.com, I have a copy of the Book of Discipline where you can go on and look up, how grievance and discipline is supposed to administer, the rules and everything that govern, the department that you're in, and we'll definitely help you with that. With your charges or anything else. So if you are brought up on discipline, make sure that you are bringing that. If you are brought up on charges, that you contact and reach out to someone to help you with that, so that you are not found to be without adequate representation and making agreements that could basically injure you down the line. Lance Jones. Will you be replacing the current Local 100 council at the local once in office? I sure will. We at Local 100, as far as the legal staff is concerned, it is compromised, right? There have been so many attorneys who have now left the local, and the attorney, and they're not replacing. So far, they have not replaced any of the attorneys that are leaving. They're relying on Arthur Swartz, his legal counsel, to come in and do work. However, it's definitely time for us to go another direction legally. We are being hammered when it comes to legal violations, and we have attorneys that we pay almost $1 million a year. However, the representation doesn't speak to such, right? And as a result of that, we're definitely going to need a new legal team to come in that is for us and not working in what appears to be against us. So yes, I'll be bringing in a new legal team. So somebody put, we are not important to the MTA like paying customers, right? So another thing about the writing public and our job, we have to begin to help the writing public to begin to understand our plight as workers, that we are workers, we are employees of the MTA, and the same abuses and mistreatment that they are experiencing, we are experiencing as employees. It's a little different. However, abuse is abuse, right? And so we have to find a way to help them to understand that their fight is our fight and our fight is their fight. No, if you're in a situation where you have to pay your own legal fees, you will not get your money back. Currently, that's what's happening now. A young man named Hammond, he has his own attorney representing him right now in a case where he's up for arbitration, because the union, until again we brought light to the situation, was not adequately representing him, right? So we had to step in and help him out and get him some legal help. Someone's asking a question. How are they bringing charges, violations being brought up several months after the fact, as management has stacks of paperwork backlog? Is there a limitation of how long they can give you a violation? Yes, there is. There is a contractual agreement. They're not supposed to be able to just go back and just bring charges against you. They have a time frame. However, again, our union has not made grievance and discipline a top priority. So that's why we're experiencing that. The VPs and the chairs of the department do have the ability to push back against management. They just don't. So the track 14 this is an update on the track 14. So the track 14, these are the people who flagged for the track 7, are now have been brought up on disciplinary charges. They're actually in a good place right now. We sent the letter to Local 100, letting them know that we expected that the flaggers and the track inspectors expect the union to show up and represent them. So they've shown up, and right now they're in their step 1 hearings, and they're all still at their tools and preparing to go to their, they have gone to their step 1 and they're preparing to go to their step 2 hearings. So all of the guys are okay for right now. So we just have to continue to keep a watch on that and continue to advocate on their behalf, right? The more you guys know, the more eyes are watching, the more Chiarillo has to do his job. The more Carlos Albert has to do their job. Also, I just want you to understand also, as a dues paying member, there is something called wine garden rights, right? You have wine garden rights. Anytime as a dues paying member, you are brought up on any investigatory allegations or charges, because you pay dues, they have to represent you, right? You do not waive your right to TWU representation. You do not waive your right to TWU representation from your chairs and your union reps when you decide that you don't want to use their attorneys. If you don't want to use their attorneys, that's fine. You can always hire your own attorney. However, Local 100 still has to represent you. So if they ever tell you that they don't have to represent you, tell them that you have wine garden rights, and under the law, they have to represent you. They cannot not represent you. So understand, I want you guys to understand that, because a lot of times of what we've seen in the past and what we're dealing with currently with Todd Brown's case, he waived his right to union legal representation, not to the representation of the elected officers who serve his department. As a result of them not showing up and representing him, he has requested that I represent him in his arbitration hearing as the union rep, because Carlos Albert said it on the record that he was not there to represent him, but he was there to observe. And that is a violation of Mr. Brown's wine garden rights. He has a right to representation. And when representation was there, they made it clear that they did not want me to represent him. So that's a second violation, because I was there to represent him and they said that they didn't want it done. So understand that whenever it comes to grievance and discipline, you have a right to union representation because you are a dues paying member. Anytime you're being investigated for anything, you have a right to union representation. They cannot say that they're not going to represent you. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Jamel, if you can post or put in the chat the law behind wine garden rights so everyone understands what that is. There have been safety stand downs when track inspectors now have to ask superintendents to not walk in inclement weather. and then a track inspector fell. Okay, so Mr. Brown is talking about the superintendent basically forced some track inspectors to go out in inclement weather, and the track inspector got injured. He fell and he was hurt by doing what the superintendent told him. So for that issue, that is a safety stand down. But that particular track inspector also could have asked for a safety resolution dispute form, so that so that job would have been halted until it was resolved. So you do not have to do any unsafe work. Remember, you can ask for a safety resolution dispute form in order to when it comes to safety. So you don't have to adhere to what they say. Just ask for a safety dispute resolution form. All work has to stop until a supervisor, a safety supervisor, or superintendent, or your union responds to whatever incident that is. Anybody have any more questions? Any more questions? Okay, so that's basically it in regards to grievance and discipline. Make sure that, again, you guys are communicating with each other and everything, so you understand what that is. I don't know if you guys saw earlier in the week, I attended the Amazon rally. They are currently, the Amazon workers are currently fighting to be unionized. They're fighting to be unionized, and they're trying to form their own union. On, I think it was Wednesday, I forget what day it was, but during the rally, there was a lot of talk about all of the issues that they have due to not having a union. I want you guys to understand something about a union, right? Unions were created because of the fact we had no protections from employers, right? Currently, when you have a union, the job of the union is to protect you and make the employer do what they are supposed to do, what is right towards you, the employee, as it relates to the law and whatever is contractually agreed upon. There are some things that we have won protections under the law based off the facts of unions being formed. That being an 8-hour workday. The fact that you come to work for 8 hours was something that was fought for, because there was a time when your employer could work you past with beyond 8 hours, 12, 14, 24, whatever they wanted to do, and there was nothing legally to stop it. Yes. Okay, let me just take a pause of talking about unions. Aaron Morrison says, correction sis, all work stops regarding the individual action. Work can go on around it, but the instance of work that you were saying is unsafe will stop. Correct. That's basically what I'm saying. If you're working on, say you're doing a rail job, right? And you're doing that rail job and you're being directed to do it in a manner that is unsafe, the GO is not going to stop, because if there's a general order going on, whatever that job is, will continue to go on. However, the job that you're being asked to do that is unsafe, correct, that will stop. So thank you for that, for clarifying that, Aaron. So understand that an 8-hour workday and all of the issues around our protections and things that we have won, right, where we don't have to, we work 8 hours, we get paid after 8 hours overtime. All of these things are contractual agreements. All of these things were won due to organized labor, due to the labor movement. So I want you guys to not take for granted the fact that you have a union. I have a friend that's a nurse. She's currently in Texas working. In Texas, they do not have a union, right? They're not unionized. As a result, everybody's getting paid whatever, right? There's no clear line of what each person is to be paid. When it comes to working overtime, they don't get paid after 8 hours overtime, right? Now, if they were in New York City and they were working in a hospital, that is a unionized hospital, guess what? Everybody, all of the nurses would be getting paid the same pay, right? They would come in on the same pay rate. Nobody would be paying. You couldn't bring one nurse in and say, oh, she's making $15 and the other one's making $20 and they're doing the same job. They would be pay parity, right? That does not happen when you don't have a union. If you look at what's happening to the people who are cleaning as contractors currently during COVID, look at what's happening to them as they're cleaning. Everybody's getting paid different wages. They have no medical coverage. They have no insurance. They have no protections. This is why we fight to protect our collective bargaining agreement. This is why it's important that we step up and defend our union, because if this union collapse, you will become an at-will worker for the MTA. And look at what you're experiencing as a unionized employee working for the MTA. Imagine what's going to happen to you if they're effectively able to undo us, right? So we're in a fight for just our basic human rights as workers, human decency, the right to access. I was having a discussion during the Amazon rally with the woman who comes from a long line of unionized, her family members all work for unions. They are middle class. They had the ability to own homes, to put their kids through school, to have a decent life while they work because her grandfather and father were all a part of unions. As a result, she was a teacher. She was a part of a union, right? And because you have these contractual agreements between the employer, the state, and these city agencies, is the only reason why we stand a chance for anything. So you guys got to understand that this fight for me to become the next president of TW Local 100 means that there's going to be a resurgence of the labor movement, right? Means that there's going to be a fresh wind when it comes to dealing with all of the things that we're dealing with contractually and how our contract is not being protected and is being undone daily, right? You will not have to deal with showing up to contract ratifications and a contract not being present. So I just want you guys just to understand what we're up against, and to continue to fight, continue to be vigilant, join the campaign, come out to the rallies on Saturday so that you can be educated on how a union functions. You can understand the labor movement, what it is that we're trying to do in our own local, right? We do not have another chance to lose another contract, to have another situation of what happened during this last contract negotiation happen again, where a contract is presented to us, but not given to us to read and to review before that happens. What are your plans for the arbitrators become there because the MTA and the union mutually agreed? What are your plans about what? I don't understand what you're asking. What are your plans for the arbitrators become there because the MTA? I don't understand what you're asking, Wilfredo. Try to send me another question so I can understand it. We currently have union staff members who are in bed with management. What are your thoughts on this? We currently have union staff members who are in bed with management. What are your thoughts on this? Well, I'm against it. As you know, that is the biggest fight that we have right now. Whenever you go into grievance and, again, back to grievance and discipline, whenever someone is brought up on charges, we see that management and our elected officers have a relationship with one another. And as a result, there's no real representation for the members. Mr. English, you just experienced this, so you know about exactly what I'm talking to, but it's horrible. So, yeah, I don't agree with that. There will be the situation where management and our members and our union reps will not have a relationship to where they're so intricately connected that our members are being violated. So you can see how I deal with that now. Like, I'm big on us working together as far on the union side, the members and their rep understanding what the issues are, and we going in as a unified front, as opposed to a union member going to management first and dealing with it. It's on our end. It's our job to disprove any allegations that are being brought against the member based on our contractual agreements and protect the member. So the member is the most important part of this equation. And so if I have reps that are rogue and that are not going to, I find that they're not representing the members or putting our members in jeopardy of losing their livelihood based off whatever these agreements are, I'm opposed to that. So yeah, so Wilfredo said he can't restate his question right now because he's driving. So yeah, so we have about 10 more minutes. You guys ask me questions because y'all usually wait to the last minute when we're supposed to be closing out to ask me questions about different things, and we wound up going overtime. So let's try to keep it within the hour. People have a lot of things to do. It's Saturday. It's Easter weekend. People want to go shop, hang out with their families. So let's get as much as we can take care of. Let's get these questions out and answered and everything. So yeah. Okay, so Jamel Nicholas just asked, what is my plan for electronic balloting? So everything has to go before the e-board. However, you guys know that I am in full support of electronic voting. I believe that if you are prepared and if you understand your job and your position, that you should not be fearful of being challenged, right? So I have no problem with implementing electronic voting. It's something that we were working on immediately upon taking office on the executive board. However, the union, as you know, the executive board is under the control of the current president. So we don't have independent representation. As a result of that, we have had no success with bringing electronic voting or even to be up for discussion on the executive board because the union is not in support of that. However, City Bike, who is now a part of TW Local 100, they ratified their contract electronically. So there is a precedent set that we can have electronic voting. However, our union has chosen to not do so. How are you going to fix the transparency with TA, OA, MAPSTOA here at MTA Bus Contract Works? Actually today we just had a discussion about that today at the Saturday Action Rally for the campaign. So currently we're working on that now. Donna Jones will be running for VP of MTA Bus. I can't reveal the person yet because we're still in negotiations about who's going to run with me for president of TA Surface and MAPSTOA. So we still have a little back and forth going on as far as negotiation and agreements as far as who's going to take those spots. However, all of the VPs who will be in buses, they are going to be working together to deal with bringing parity across the board between TA, OA, and MTA Bus. Right? We were talking about your contract earlier at the rally in regards to how vastly different it is from the other departments of TA and OA. So that's how we're going to work on that. So transparency will be that we will be working to get parity between all three bus divisions, right? MAPSTOA is a part is under the MTA, TA Surfaces, and so is MTA Bus. And we have to work on getting parity across the departments. And that starts with the VPs of the department being on one accord. The VPs have to be working together in order for this to happen. And you have to have a president that understands the needs of the department of buses in order to make that happen. Okay, hi, Ms. Bryant. So someone wants me to introduce myself. So my name is Evangeline Byers. I'm a train operator and I serve on the executive board of TW Local 100, the Train Operators Division. I am running for president of TWU Local 100. My platform is to organize and unify Local 100. And the reason why I'm focusing on the unification and organization of the local is because that is currently the biggest issue within our local. We are not unified as a local. Even though we may come from different departments, we do not move together. We do not work and support one another as a whole. And in order for us to be a strong union, we all have to be united. We have to be unified. And the organizational part is because if you look at our union right now, we are totally unorganized. There is no steady flow or process of governance of how things are supposed to ebb and flow throughout our local. So the unification and the organization of Local 100 is what's going to lead to our success going forward as we begin to take on all of the challenges that are happening within our local. The 5 principles of our campaign is to unify, organize, member education, effective action, love and respect for the members. So that we have to love and respect one another. So those are our 5 campaign principles. We meet every Saturday at Sugar Hill Supper Club to have Saturday action rallies. When you come to our Saturday action rallies, that's where you will be energized. We'll talk about different things dealing with the union. The goal is to bring everybody together. You can bring out your friends and your family. Your children are welcome. It's an environment of togetherness. The goal is to get us back to a place of when we are moving as a unit. So I hope that answered some of your questions really quickly. Okay, we have arbitrators who are there because the union and the MTA agreed. Will you remove the current arbitrators? Well, so the arbitrators, when it comes to arbitrators, the union and the MTA pick the arbitrators together. So there will be, I will have the ability to go in and pick new arbitrators. Yes, we can renegotiate who we want to be arbitrators. Edelman has to go. Howard Edelman has been a problem across the board. He has to go, especially in MTA bus. That he has fired more of our bus operators in MTA bus unjustly and unfairly. Howard Edelman is a problem. Okay, so I hope I answered you guys' questions. We have 3 minutes left. 3 minutes. Who's going to give me the last question? Let me just make sure I didn't miss anyone. So far, it doesn't look at it. We need stronger representation in Albany. Our current elected senators do nothing for us. We pay them a lot of our money. How are you going to correct that? So, Lance, I was talking about that a little earlier about politics. So, when it comes to our elected officials, we know in the case of Cuomo that our union has given Cuomo and a lot of elected officials receive funding from our union. I will not be funding people who do not show up to represent our members and act on our behalf. I will not be giving the governor money to undo us, right? So it is very important that we understand that we will be revisiting how we're giving out our coat money, right? I know like you can give a little extra out of your pay towards just the political action fund that we use to fund, I'm sorry, the light went out, to fund politicians, right? We will not be giving politicians our money and funding anymore if when we have issues, they do not show up. The fact that we are funding a lot of elected officials out of our money, and when things happen, they don't show up. When Jillian Williams lost her baby in the train yard, there were no elected officials that showed up on our behalf. We had one person to write a letter on behalf of Miss Williams, and that was Miss Diana Richardson, who wrote a letter to Sarah Feinberg in regards to dealing with the issue of the young lady that lost her baby. We gave Cuomo thousands and thousands of dollars, and he has done nothing but attack us consistently, right? He has legalized marijuana now. He has a $21 billion plan to deal with immigration and incarceration. However, he cannot give us hazard pay. He cannot give us a fair wage increase. He could not get us relief when it came to the pandemic. He couldn't stop these trains from running in the midst of a pandemic. So all of these issues that we're confronted with when it comes to our elected officials, we have the ability to handle them, right? The problem is who we have in office. Why is it, some of the questions we need to ask ourselves, what is the relationship between John Samuelson, that he can mention everybody's name, but he will never mention Cuomo's name? What is that relationship that they have, that he has abdicated his responsibility as the international president to defend organized labor by not addressing and attacking the biggest union buster in New York State, which is Governor Cuomo? We have to ask ourselves these hard questions, right? Tony Atano, the same thing. He never mentions Cuomo. They try their best to stay away from dealing with these issues. So the only way for us to get a handle on that is that when we take office, that we reorganize how we distribute our funding. We put competent people who understand the political process and how to deal with elected officials, and that there are some ask of them, some commitments that we ask before we are funding their coffer. If we don't do that, then we're going to continue to get slaughtered. We're going to continue to not be taken serious because we give out money, right? We're funding people who are not working in our best interests. What I've noticed with some of the union reps, they are too buddy-buddy with management and therefore cannot properly be representing our members. One cannot want to be union reps and be scared of management. Correct. That needs to change. We just talked about that a few minutes ago. Cuomo really don't like transit workers. Thank you. Unification is very important because our stations department is in trouble. Yes, Donna, we had a gentleman came out today on behalf of stations to the Saturday Action Rally. Next Saturday, if you are available to come out. If you want to get involved, let me know your location. We'll get campaign literature to you where you can get an understanding of what's going on. We need to start discussing how we are going to help the stations department. Currently, there's so many factions in the stations department jockeying for power that they're not coming together collectively to ensure that the attacks on the stations department is eradicated, and really looking at and examining the contractual agreements and the stipulations and things that have already been signed to undo the stations department. We really, really have to look at that so that we can get in position. You guys have to remember that layoffs have not been taken off of the table. They've been postponed. So that means in 2022, we're going to be fighting for our jobs. We're going to be fighting to not be laid off. And the only way to get ahead of this stuff is for us to come together now. We cannot be divided. Nobody will win if we're all over the place, right? The idea of me becoming president of Local 100 is an illusion if we don't become a unified front. There's no way that Mr. Navarro can become president if we don't become a unified front. The opposition, Tony Atano and that slate, they're all unified on remaining in power to continue to use, abuse, misuse our membership, take our funding, use it against us to oppress us, while they make agreements with management that is slowly undoing our contract. Everybody that is sitting in that top four right now either can retire or maybe a few years shy of retirement. They no longer have skin in the game. They no longer have interest. They no longer have the fight to move us ahead or forward. This election is very important. The tier 6 people need to turn out like they have never turned out for an election before. We have to be united on the fact of what it is that we want to do. And I want you to understand, I see a lot of little bickering and fighting happening. To the members of TW Local 100, let's stay focused and unified. If the people who want to run and be in office cannot work together, then how are they going to lead us forward? There's nothing happening so big amongst us right now that we can't put all the petty differences aside, come together and make this happen for us and our families, right? We are doing this for our members, for our families, for our city, and for our future. We have to come together, right? This whole resurgence movement, this whole resurgence plan of resurging power into our union. This is not something that I'm just saying as a pitch for you guys to as a campaign pitch or a slogan. This is really real. I'm going to be here for another 20 years. Anything that happens going forward is going to directly affect me. I have seen the undoing of our contract while I'm currently serving on the executive board. I'm telling you things not from a position of somebody who is a passive onlooker, but somebody who is in the mix of all that is happening right now. I'm not bringing you secondhand information. I'm telling you what's happening in real time. And I'm telling you, if you do not make a decision to get up and fight back, right, you are going to be on the losing end. We do not have too much more to lose. Transit is banking on us to not be able to turn out a vote. They are banking on us not being able to flip TW Local 100 in 2021. That things go on business as usual. We have to make sure that that doesn't happen. The only way for us to stop it is for you to make sure your dues are paid. This get out to vote campaign is real. You need to be voting in this election like you voted for who would be president. This is even more important than the presidential election for you and your livelihood. How are you not participating in what's going to directly affect you? You want to continue to be a middle class earner? You want to continue to put your kids through decent schools and give them access to education, quality health care? You want to continue to have that? Then you better get up and do something. Join the campaign. See how you can be a part. What can you do from your position to make this happen? We do not have any more time left. Anybody that can't come together and work together, put their differences and egos aside and understand where we need to go from here, something is wrong. You need to question their leadership. And understand, me saying that I'm a candidate to run for president, right? I have to give you a plan. I have to show you that I have the ability to lead. And I'm demonstrating to you and for you during this campaign run, what would it look like with me as your president? Will I be available and accessible? How am I organizing my campaign as far as the VPs are concerned? Who's going to be in charge of what as it comes to the departmental planning and everything else, right? People have a lot to say, but they don't do. Again, let me repeat that again. People have a lot to say, but they do not do. The type of commitment that it takes to put together this level of campaign and push back against a system that is stronger than me. The union has the vast majority of the resources. We paid them they made $33 million off of us during this pandemic. They never gave us masks, right? They even allowed transit to attack if you died in the line of duty, to try to take away our members being able to get the death benefit that's supposed to come to them, that's contractually agreed upon, right? So we are in a real fight to exist. And I need you guys to understand that this is not a power grab, right? This is not just a grab to just say, ooh, I'm in power, I'm president. But you have the ability at this juncture to put a leadership in place that is member focused. Remember, I just said to you, we're doing this for for our members first. The members are first. You come first. If you're not okay, guess who comes next? Your family. That means your family is not okay. And if our families are not okay, those who will be the future transit employees, which is our city, right? They will not be okay. And as a result, we will have no future, right? So we have to understand what is at stake and continue to forge ahead and push forward. You know, I will be out in full force campaigning around the system. I need you guys to catch the vision and don't let it take a long time for you to understand what it is that we need to do. Talk to your coworkers. Nobody got to know that you're organizing. Nobody has to know the decisions that you're making. Don't be scared of your union reps. You know, when y'all in buses, when you're on your swing bus and y'all sitting around talking, talk about this next election. Talk about who your next president is going to be and how important it is that we do this for our membership, for our families, for our cities, and for our city and for our future. This is very important that we forge ahead and make these things happen. So, again, we have reached our hour. We are about 11 minutes over. My name is Evangeline Byers. Again, I'm the candidate for president of TW Local 100, the first woman to run for president of Local 100, a woman that is consistent and dedicated and committed to bringing change and forging us ahead into our future, to unify and organize our local. I'm doing this for our members, for our family, for our city, and for our future. Until next month, town hall, I'll see you again. If you want to catch me in person, if I miss your location, I will be every Saturday between the hours of 12 noon and 2 p.m. at Sugar Hill. Bring your friends and family out. This is for our members first, for our families, for our city, and for our future. God bless you all, and I will be in touch. Be safe.